Appreciate these guys being here. Jason, I'm not sure if you're kicking us off, so I'll hand it over to you.
Perfect. I will kick this off. Thanks everybody for showing up. So first, if you're unfamiliar with Five9, we are a contact center platform, an AI platform. We like to want to be able to have AI embedded in multiple pieces so that, everyone from the supervisor to the quality manager have access to that type of technology. We're building bots, we're finding ways to automate QA, we're finding ways to dig in and find answers, and Greg was kind enough to come and speak with us today talking about why Five9 was a solution he chose, as well as ideas around how he's going to use it. So I want to thank Greg for joining us today. So one of the things I discovered last night, Greg, was you kind of moved to the cloud very early. How did that experience kind of affect your buying decisions going forward in relates to contact center and when you're thinking about using AI?
So, I have been in the specialty pharmacy and patient services space for over 24 years. And in the early days of building up some of those businesses, we were using on-prem, large, old Avaya systems that were, really they worked for what happened within a building. But as I had started building up new businesses, the ability to scale that and to scale it geographically was a difficult thing. So there were a number of things that started driving us towards the cloud. Right, we run programs on behalf of specialty drug manufacturers, and they are programs that are treating patients, and they can't go down. Right, so from a disaster recovery perspective, we needed to build our business so that I had a kind of an internal motto that I used to say: the building could burn to the ground and the business wouldn't stop. Right, and we were building this business in Maryland where we had many snowstorms. We had times where all the employees had to work from home just on a day's notice. And it really, the cloud, going to the cloud was a big fit for the type of business that we're in. I'll say it also served us tremendously during COVID, right? To be in that architecture and to be using cloud-based systems, but also in our business we have a seasonality scaling issue where we have to recheck pharmacy benefits for hundreds of thousands of patients every January and February to make sure that they still have coverage for their therapies. So we will hire, oftentimes in our business, thousands of people in November and train them and have a flood of calls and a flood of activity in January, February, and then have to then wind that down in March. So the ability to scale up and down by thousands of employees was just something that was very, very difficult to do on premise in a building or in a couple of buildings, right? And say we're going to build out all that infrastructure and then tear it down, or build out all that infrastructure and have it sit idle for half the year, right? It really, moving to the cloud became, a really important choice for us, and it really enabled us to be efficient with the way we managed things and did it at high quality.
Okay. Yeah. Well, being in healthcare, accuracy and compliance are going to be two giant things you have to struggle with.
Yep.
How do you see like a Five9 tool like AI Insights being able to help you in that manner?
Well, yeah, I mean, we are huge in compliance and quality measures, right, in healthcare. You can imagine there's HIPAA regulations. There are a lot of pharmacy law and FDA rules that we have to follow. And when you start looking at how do you scale, right, and scale out, especially again outside of a building, right, and scaling out across the country, you need, the first thing you're asked is, how are we going to monitor all these employees? How are we going to maintain quality, right? And so you need tools to have visibility into every call. You need to have tools to be able to do call audits. We do lots and lots of call audits, and the old way that we used to do it was you had supervisors who, for every agent, would listen manually to 5 calls a month, and to kind of check to see if that agent was doing a good job or not. But with AI insights and some of those tools, we're now able to monitor 100% of the calls, right, and have the system let us know when there's a call that we weren't, that didn't go well, or there are any type of quality issues or compliance issues. We're also using it to, because of our regulatory burdens, we have to capture adverse events, right, and report, like if a patient calls in and says, taking this medicine gave me a headache, or, I ended up in the hospital or something like that. So it's all part of SOPs that agents are supposed to catch that, but they're humans, right? They don't always catch those things. So we are using AI insights and some of the other AI quality tools to listen again to 100% of those calls and capture those adverse events so that we can report them to the proper people at the manufacturers and the FDA, and those things can be monitored and we don't miss them.
Perfect. Are there any other examples? There was a story you shared in terms of kind of Medicare bundling of things you've been able to capture.
Yeah. So, the other amazing thing that we've, really started to realize with AI insights is sometimes topics are just coming up in conversations that are not part of the normal course of business, right? And so we're running a program, we're capturing benefits, we're working with patients on an individual level. And we actually had a scenario last January where there was a change in how Medicare was covering one of the drugs. And it turned out that somehow the wrong message had gotten out to the doctors, right? And so we were getting thousands of calls, but we didn't realize it. None of the agents were saying anything about it. But the phrase Medicare bundling was coming up over and over in these calls, right? And it caused the AI was catching that, and it starts coming up in the reporting that these phrases are being said. And so it was something that the manufacturer had realized, oh my God, the wrong message about how the insurance coverage for this product is being told to the provider community is wrong, right? And they were able to react to that and send the message out to their sales team and say, go out and let all the doctors know that there's not an issue with this, right? And it really could have had a big effect on whether doctors were prescribing or not, because they thought that perhaps the drug was no longer to be covered, right? So, just the ability for us to do that and for us to be able to capture when there are changes, because sometimes in our market, there are subtle changes, right? Like there can be in the middle of the year, a large health insurer change their policy, and then suddenly, you're getting all these calls and all these activity happening around that, but the manufacturer and some of the folks in the team don't recognize it because they're working on a patient by patient basis, right? They're working on each individual person's insurance, but they're not always able to see globally, right? That, oh wow, we've gotten 300 questions about that same topic, and that's something that AI Insights can now catch, right, and start letting us know this is bubbling up as a topic. There must be something in the market that's driving that, right? And enables us to now react to that, help our partners, the manufacturers understand that change has happened, and then we can make quick business decisions to handle whatever's coming up.
And how do you see gaining these insights helping you towards kind of the automation landscape?
Well, from an automation perspective, there are a lot of things that we do that are, I would say, somewhat repetitive, right? And so it takes a lot of the burden off of the team to take on some of those tasks, right? So for example, we use an AI agent to simply capture when patients are looking for refills, right? They're looking for refills. It's a common call, right? So in the old way, they never wanted to like have people push one for a refill and then type in your date of birth. It's very, very difficult. But with an AI agent, there's a natural language interaction there, right? And so patients are accepting of that, right? They like it. They're like, great, I call in, I give my name, I give my date of birth, I can request my refill. That work is now being taken off of an agent's plate. It's very repetitive work, right? And then, with the integration capabilities, we feed that straight from Five9's right into our pharmacy partners with no human interaction. It's all automated, which is great. But then it also frees up our agents to then take on the patient care conversations that really you would never put on AI, right? It gives them a lot more time to handle those type of interactions, and just create a much better patient experience. And in our world, like that's a huge thing. Like we are working day and night to make a better experience for patients and providers, because in the specialty market, it is a battle for them to constantly be fighting against the insurers who may or may not want to cover the drugs. So we kind of really work hard on making a great patient experience.
Thank you. And I had a last question for Greg, and he said, why are you asking me this question? And it was really about what pieces of the Five9's a super flexible system that I know a lot of times I go into a customer, I'm not going to be able to sell them as much as I'd love, be able to sell them everything on the truck. I want to be able to use what's within their ecosystem, that if they already have a great chatbot or QM system or WEM or whatever it is, find a way to work with that. And we have the APIs and integration capabilities available. He said, why are you asking me this? I'm moving everything to you. And I thought, well, that's great. But what were your thoughts on that? Because there is a transition period where you're having to kind of do some minor steps for things before you're able to move everything across.
Yeah. So, to give you a little bit of background there, I have been in this business a very long time. I had founded a prior company to Occam and ran that company for a decade, and had moved everything to Five9's in that environment. And I've been with Occam and Gift Health for the past year, and we've moved and been moving everything off of another platform to get onto Five9's because it really does have, it is a great platform that has all the different pieces. What we had before was a pretty good contact center solution, but then it had to be tied to 3 other components to give us everything we need, and it didn't quite all work well together, right? What we're getting with Five9's is a single system for our contact center needs and AI interaction needs and analytics needs, right? We're getting all of that in one platform that's works very well because it's all one platform. We don't have to worry about a lot of third-party integrations. But at the same time, the integration capabilities are fantastic. We have in our business, we use an in-house built CRM. So we're not using like an off-the-shelf Salesforce or anything like that. It's because of the nature of our business, right? In patient services, there's not really the same, kind of off-the-shelf market. We've integrated with Five9's and brought the capabilities right into our CRM. We bring it into Tableau for external reporting to customers, and able to do that really seamlessly. The capabilities are all there, but just like the name of our company, Occam's Razor, they always say the simplest solution is usually the best, right? Like being able to bring together like a lot of components under one umbrella and having that be a simpler solution, it works fantastically well for us.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. Before I started kind of talking about kind of Five9's thought process on implementation, driven towards value. Did anyone have questions for Greg? And let's give a short round of applause for my gracious interviewee. So I'm going to skip past some of this. We've kind of talked about the platform. Talking about avoiding pitfalls of implementing bots. We started this, Genius AI, yes, it's a marketing term. Yes, it's a group of products that we have, but it's a real process that our services teams implement and how we approach it. That I've got to be able to listen, analyze, tailor, and apply. When I talk about embedded AI, I want to be able to have a product in kind of each one of those buckets to be able to help you along that journey. If you don't start, and we've been talking about this for a while now with the listening, that I really need to know what's going on in the contact center. For me to have a good strategy of automation, I can't be guessing about what's going on or what I want to automate. If the goal is to see that, hey, I want to see how good this new tool is, knock yourself out, play with the tool, redo your reset password and see if the new tool makes it easier. But is that really moving the needle? I want to be able to see what are the real conversations. And like with our voice stream, I'm able to get that to say another vendor if you need to. But go in there and really look at the chat transcripts. Look at the voice transcripts. Understand what's being said. Or at least get the information out. I'm getting ahead of myself. Because the key to that is analyzing. Now this is where I think large language models, I've seen offering a lot of the best benefit. Because before, everything was kind of keyword based. That if I wanted to go in and look at transcripts and voice and chat both, if I'm asking a question, I'm already kind of biasing that data because I'm asking how many of this do we have on what I think. Or maybe I'm basing it on the dispositions that we've created and have had for the last 10 years instead of saying, hey, large language model, what are the top 5 categories of questions in this data? Wow, all of a sudden I realized that my dispositions maybe don't really reflect the true nature of the conversations that are going on within my contact center. This is where you can start to really understand that value, that I want to be able to go in and go back to those business stakeholders and say, what metrics are we trying to drive and make a determination of, where are we at within that certain section? And it's not until we get over down here to Taylor that we've even started to build anything yet. I want to be able to understand what are we really trying to do? Is this a true pain point? Now, when we get to Taylor, this is what I'm seeing a lot, that understanding, are we really prepared to make this automated? You need 3 things. I need robust APIs. It's going to be hit a lot. And do we have access to the systems we're going to make changes to? I thought of this example today. Amazon keeps telling me, hey, this Jonathan Hickman comic is on sale. Do you want to buy it again? I bought that comic for my son 5 years ago. I don't like Jonathan Hickman, but Alexa doesn't have access to the right APIs in Kindle to know what I want to be interested in. Does it have access to the right information to be able to give that contextualized experience? Because really, the end goal is us being able to give this super contextualized experience where everybody gets what they want. Are we there yet? No. Do we have a way to get there? Yes. The other thing, knowledge. Do you have a good knowledge base? Is it segmented by maybe customer type? is it thorough? Because when we start talking about building bots and we're going to use some type of RAG technology, I need that knowledge to be rock solid, or I have the possibility of giving inaccurate information or giving it too much information if I don't have it segmented. And then finally, like the last piece of that tailoring that you want to make sure you have right is, do we have rock solid standard operating procedures for my human agents? Can I give my human agent a piece of paper and them be able to follow this process without questions? If we don't, let's hold off on what we're doing with automation until we can answer that question, with confidence to be able to say yes. Because if I go into an agentic agent and give it questionable instructions, I'm going to get questionable results. Those are the three things that once we start looking at tailoring, you've got to really think about and make sure, hey, I have confidence in these three areas to be able to kind of go to that next section of truly applying it. And that's really just using it. Am I showing my human agent the next best action? Do I have a voice or a digital bot answering those questions? Am I automatically scoring all these calls? Am I creating summaries? All things that are available within the Five9 platform, but you want to make sure that you've done these other steps, because I would love for AI to truly be a set it and forget it. You plug it in, you do it once, and we're done. It's not. We're continually going around this loop, because hopefully on the analyze side, you've gone back and created some true KPIs and metrics you want to be able to hit, so that when we get over here and apply, are we really doing what we meant to do? This is one of those that I was listening to a podcast on the way up, and I'm stealing the thing they said. It was think big, start small, and continually to iterate. And that's what it is. I want to be able to change the world with contextual knowledge about all my customers, but trying to start there, that's why you see these big numbers about 95% of AI projects fail. Well, 95% of, I believe that's one of those clickbait things. Were these customers really trying to test a tool? Were they just trying to look at technology? What was their goal? If you go into this with a plan methodically and begin to really track what you're trying to accomplish instead of changing the world from step one, you can see recognizable results, so that you're not continually chasing your tail and trying to use the next great tool to solve this problem. Really understand what the problem you're trying to solve is.
Yeah.
I've said a lot there. Were there any questions? Or Greg, go ahead.
I wanted to just say that, what you're saying is absolutely right. For us, we've managed over 1 million patient interactions and 1 million patients served this year. There are a lot of things you hear from the call center team that are anecdotal, right? And the only way that we really know what's going on is to analyze, the millions of calls that we're handling and the million patients. It really is, something where we use that data in AI Insights, and we're able to capture something that's happening and then be able to then say, okay, how do we tailor our solution to it? If we are just building solutions, we're kind of guessing at what we're building. Really it's in our market, particularly in healthcare, it's constantly changing. Right, that's another thing. Like the Medicare, Medicaid, the health insurers, the price of products, the different pharmacies involved. They're constantly shifting. Every couple of months, and so there's always something that we're reacting to. And the faster that we can have the system hear those changes and start alerting us to something that's changing in the world, right? And again, a lot of it can't be AI. We're dealing with patients. We're dealing with people, right? So people throw things at you. right? They throw things at you. They're great at breaking models, right? They are, and they're great at breaking automation, right? So yeah, I mean, really, just being able to analyze that automatically is just a huge thing for us.
Thank you everyone for joining. Round of applause for these guys.